here, and automatically go with them. We have to push the vehicle for other companies.
Call the meeting to order. Would you please stand and join me in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I'd like to turn the air conditioner on here.
Have the roll call, please.
Ludington.
Here.
Patrick.
Yes. Here.
Bruner.
Yes.
Chittick.
Here.
Farnham. Lorenzen.
Here.
Voigt.
I need a motion to approve the minutes of the June 13th regular meeting of the county board. Any news? John seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Claims against the county. I need a motion to approve those if there is no questions. Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. County board member claims. I need a motion to approve those. Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Public comment. Is there any public comment today? Hearing none, we'll move to the highway resolution. We need to pass a resolution for a supplemental 2018 county maintenance appropriating funds from the county's motor fuel tax allotment for the maintenance of county highways for the period beginning January 1st, 18 and ending 12/31 of 18. Aaron.
This is a supplemental to the general maintenance resolution that you passed last, I don't remember, that started the year before 1/1. And this is in anticipation of the county consolidated payment coming in September. So what you're going to do is we're asking the board to appropriate motor fuel tax dollars for general maintenance. We'd like to try to get that stuff done in good time, and the consolidated will come in September. We intend to seal coat it.
Is there any questions?
Any questions regarding the supplemental?
I need a motion to pass this resolution. John makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second. You made the motion.
Apparently you can second it if you want, Derek.
No, it's fine. Let's sign it.
Ludington, Lorenzen, whichever.
Ludington.
Okay.
We gotta sign something. Uh-oh.
Need to have a roll call on this since it's a resolution.
Ludington.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Bruner.
Yes.
Chittick.
Yes.
And Lorenzen.
Yes.
Earl, I would like to make one comment if you don't mind.
Yes.
We are working still, we've been working since 10 on jurisdictional transfers, and these dollars will likely be used for seal coating routes that we intend to continue to try to transfer. So I thought you guys might take note of that.
Transfer out.
Yeah, transfer to the townships. In the 09 master plan, we talked about a county system, a future county system, and there were some routes that aren't on that. If this is ongoing, we can discuss it further later, but there are routes that we continue to try to transfer to townships, and our intention is to seal these routes this year and continue to pursue these transfers this year. So we've been working on this for, what, 9 years. But just a side note.
Well, and essentially the township maintenance money is gonna come through us anyway, so we seal coat it now
Well,
or
we
help
seal
the
coat it.
township seal coat it later. I mean,
We seal coded, again, our motor fuel tax comes by tags, registrations, that's how the county's motor fuel tax is determined, through registrations in the county. Townships are based on lane miles, so it's effectively by doing a jurisdictional transfer, the townships will increase their allotment, whereas ours would stay the same. So we'll use county dollars, county general maintenance dollars to seal the road as kind of an enticement, if you will, to get the townships to take jurisdiction of them. And again, we've been after all three of these boards for 9 years, and we intend to make another push this year. And to even go further, you know, we have the remote snow removal, things like that, other ways that we're expending county dollars that we'd like to stop doing. So we have some, what I call remote, local roads on the county system that we're still trying to JT. We intend to use these dollars to seal coat those routes in anticipation of maybe that helping the townships to.
I was gonna ask what your confidence level of Shiny New Road being an enticement to move the ball down the field.
Well, there's three of them, three townships. Two of them are there's 2 degrees here. One's the road commissioner himself, and then the second one would be his board. And we have 2 road commissioners that have been interested for some time. The third's not. And again, these roads need sealed anyway. When you do a jurisdictional transfer, you try to. I mean, we don't have the money to hand them money to take the routes, so we're basically saying. Again, we just sealed those routes. Is there a chance you'd reconsider your position? One of the 3, I would go as far as to say maybe likely. Second one's moderate, and the third one's probably going to continue to be a no.
I mean, I'm sure there's other concerns from an accounting perspective. This seems like a slam dunk. I mean,
It does.
if the amount of money coming into this county in general is
Agreed.
greater with the transfer.
Agreed, and I appreciate any board input. In particular, we're talking about Prairie, Ross, and Young America. In Young America's case, there's a structure, a posted structure on our route that we can use township bridge money on if it belongs to the township.
Now, is this the county road I live on?
Yes.
That might change my opinion.
Yes, but your road commissioner will go out is the one that happened.
Can I ask Sarah a question?
Yes.
I brought this up on Monday, maybe I shouldn't say anything, but Staley's road out there that has a slab, and there was a car that got washed off during high water. And just for a heck of it, I drove that road the other day to see if there's any signs that say do not cross or dangerous during high water. There's no signs whatsoever by that bridge.
That was
Would it be
part of the
possible to put a
discussion.
bridge or a sign up saying stay off the road in high water, or even close the road during high water? Because those 2 people are lucky that they didn't drown. And they're not real smart about crossing, understand that, but same token, if there's a sign there that would say, do not cross during high water or something, it might help a little bit. It's basically liability.
That was part of the discussion at the
Right.
study session.
Right.
That signage leads to liability.
But you still have liability if no sign. My point would be you have more liability if you don't have a sign, if you do have a sign.
Yes, we'll certainly pass that along to the road commissioner.
I appreciate it.
Elbridge Township.
Yeah.
Well, I have a tendency to agree. I mean, most people know you don't cross slabs, but some people aren't aware of that.
That's not-
You know, if it's someone that's not been around here crossing, they don't know better and they don't. So I think it would be wise to put some type of
That's my
sign.
point.
You know, high water, do not cross, you know, if water's on something,
I'll pass that along to Elbridge
Okay.
Township.
yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
The next item is a resolution authorizing the county board chairman to sign an agreement with Prospect Bank regarding the properties on North Central Avenue adjacent to the Edgar County Sheriff's Department. Do you want to address this, Aaron?
Yeah, we're still in negotiations. As you guys know, the state's attorney does have a response letter or a letter to the Prospect Bank regarding the county's position on that transfer, and negotiations continue. We haven't gotten a response yet, certainly not for this board. We keep hoping that that we can get these details ironed out, but they're, from a time perspective, we're, again, just not quite ready to ask the board to pass a resolution for the conveyance. And this resolution is nothing more than the conveyance. It's a warranty deed with stipulations. And as you know, they're gonna transfer the property to us with stipulations, and we're still working out the details. So we're waiting on a response from their attorney. So my recommendation is that the board table this until next month.
Is there, need a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next item is resolution to relocate the polling place from Kansas School District to the Kansas Christian Church. Elby?
Yeah, I had a formal written request from the superintendent of the school district in Kansas. Basically stating that the learning process, I just lost the word that I was going to say.
Disrupted.
Disrupted. Thank you, teacher. And that's yeah, the school day is disrupted because of the election process, and the other side of that is the perception that sex offenders could be coming into the school. And so with that, they asked that we tried to, if they could find another place, that'd be great. So in tandem, I received a letter from the Kansas Christian Church who basically said that we would warmly welcome the county if we could be a polling place. And it's in their big community building attached to the church, right there on the highway as you're coming into Kansas, on the south side of the road. I went there, I looked the building over. It is ADA compliant. There are a lot of access points, exits, kitchen facility, plenty of restrooms. Parking is plenty of parking.
Are the restrooms actually inside and plumbed, or are they actually like an outhouse type?
Yeah, no, we only have one of those.
Oh.
That's down, that's Andy's. And so, yeah, plenty of parking, and it just looks like it would be a nice fit. So Kansas School presented me with the problem, and they also worked tandemly with the church on a solution. Sounds legitimate, sounds great, and I would suggest that the board go ahead and move forward with that. Question?
A couple of questions. So I assume that this will be, if we approve, it will take place, they will be voting for the midterms
Yes.
in the new community center. So what would be the deadline for any other community that wants to look at this, if they have a good alternative site in their mind for
really,
this next election?
pardon? For this upcoming
November, yeah.
November?
Mhm.
Well, the short answer is as soon as possible. The actual deadline, don't believe there is a deadline. It's more of a function of how soon can I get the notices out.
When do they typically go out?
Well, I'm gonna work on them soon as we get approval from the board.
So the
that
notices only
process
go out in
starts.
case of a change, it's not a standardized, this is your polling place.
I'm sorry, ask me that again.
The notices you're talking about only go out in case of a change. They're
Yes.
not a standardized across the board, your polling place is.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, once your polling place is your polling place, it's there until it
And we have
gets
no
changed.
obligation, and so if they went out November 1st, we would still be in compliance. Is that? I don't mean to paint you in a corner, Dog. I just was curious, like, you would
Yeah.
prefer them done by September, October,
Oh,
at the latest?
Yes,
Okay,
please, because number one, it's gotta come before the board. Number two,
sure.
the letters, notices, new registration cards, you know, all those have to, it all has to be coordinated and sent out.
Sure, okay.
As soon as possible.
Okay.
And I'm in favor of getting polling places moved out of schools. I am. I just need to have a suitable alternative. And what you also run into is the statute has certain limitations on the number of precincts that you're allowed to put into a polling place. Number of precincts, number of people, and so all that gets a little bit technical, a little bit.
Do we have any districts that are close to that max as far as precincts rather?
Yeah, we may have some that are close, but because of the long-standing practice of where they are, I don't see that anything is an issue at this point. So it's a function of space, in my opinion.
I need a motion for this resolution.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call, please.
Ludington.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Bruin.
Yes.
Chittick.
Yes.
And Lorenzen.
Yes.
Motion. Resolution passes. Next item is resolution authorizing the release of a request for qualifications for assistance in implementing the Guaranteed Energy Savings Project. Andy?
We have actually, Corey Cummins is with SmartWatt, and that's who we've been working with, and maybe you could probably explain this better
Yeah, for
than
sure.
what I could.
Absolutely. So this is essentially, it's a required procurement as part of the legislation. So essentially what it is it'll be us and then any of our competitors, gives them an opportunity to come in, take a look at the buildings real quick, and then submit their qualifications, so you guys aren't just, working with potentially us, obviously we hope to continue working with you, but this gives everyone the opportunity to fairly go through this process. So they'll submit a qualification package, you'll choose who you want to work with to continue on the process by completing an investment grade audit and eventually moving into doing an actual energy project. So essentially, all that we need to kind of continue this process is just some dates and point of contact with the county and where those proposals need to be sent, and then we can get that submitted. It gets posted to the Capital Development Board, which will basically notify everyone that is in this type of business throughout the country, and then also needs to be posted in a local circular just for local purposes. And that's it.
Carl, could I ask a quick question?
Yes.
If the county's selected, if the county makes a selection, will the funding for this in any way be considered a grant?
No. We'll take a look at grants if they're available, but typically they're not, because that's just the state we live in. But if there are available, and if there's $5,000 out there, we'll go get that, help you write the grant for it. And we just applied for a staffing grant through Airmen for Iroquois County. So mostly it's timing. So we have to be further in the process to even consider grants, but.
Well, grants have become really tough.
Yes.
You've heard of GATA, right? Grant Accountability.
Yep.
Yeah, so, and our grant opportunities as an entire county end if one division of it is not up on its GATA qualifications. So
Gotcha.
just want to make sure if this was considered a grant that.
No, it's not. The funding mechanism is a tax exempt lease, basically a lease purchase agreement type of thing for the equipment.
So if you do pursue grants, it's actually under you guys rather than under us? Or you're just saying there probably won't be any grant?
The grants will apply for those on your behalf.
Okay.
Any grants or Ameren incentives or anything like that get built into the financials of the project, we own that and we're guaranteeing that. So if something did happen with it after the project starts, we have to kind of eat it. So that's a whole part of the accountability with you guys and guarantees that protects you.
Can I assume Aaron's looking at the possibility of, if you get grants coming into different segments of the county, there has to be some consistency involved?
Absolutely.
Okay.
When you do your GATA paperwork, when we put in for a grant application now, there's another 25 or 30 pages of GATA form work that has to be completed. And when you submit that, they look to see, like, I know the health departments. If the health department misbehaves or the highway department misbehaves, we affect the other. So I just was asking just in general if this.
No, it's a good consideration for sure.
Requirements.
Typically, there's not grants available for these type of projects, and that's why this process that we do is effective, because there's not really any other way to do it besides straight capital.
Local dollars will fund this endeavor. I'm not trying to be difficult here at all. You're procuring a QBS, you're doing a QBS selection, and then obviously there'll be some form of compensation.
So the actual compensation comes from the savings that's created from the project. So it's basically a budget forward type thing, project's completed, and then once the savings starts coming in, a portion of that goes towards paying for the project. So there's only budgeted funds that are already budgeted, no additional taxpayer dollars are used for the project.
Well, how do you make money?
Well, the money that gets paid up front through the lease purchase, a portion of that comes to us. For our design work, for our construction oversight, and implementation.
All of it's budget neutral, but it is coming out of our budget. So as everything's put into place, and that was my question, is the initial outlay, but that was, we discussed. So we won't have anything that is new, no additions to our budget concerns, even out at the initial outlay. So, and then after that, once everything's in place, then we are covered by the surplus we now have in our budget because our bills are lower.
So if you replace that window air conditioner with a $700 model, who's paying for the $700 model?
We can, I can show you all this stuff, it makes sense.
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah.
Pretty much money you're gonna spend anyhow.
I just had a question about it.
Right.
Yeah, you're utilizing your operational expense budget, so your utility expenses and maintenance expenses, we reduce those, and then the difference of what was reduced is used to pay for the project after it's completed. So there's an upfront funding mechanism that's like a lump sum, and it's a lease purchase agreement essentially.
Yeah, so basically with your window air conditioner, they lease us a new air conditioner for $700, and they guarantee that it saves us enough money in electricity to cover what we have to pay them on the rent to own.
Yeah, and the guarantee is a big piece, because obviously we can say it's gonna save you a certain amount and then just hope for it, but we actually have to verify that annually, and if it's less than what we said it was gonna be, we have to write the county a check for the difference. So that absolutely ensures that you're never gonna be out of pocket. But there's obviously some items, like central cooling, are very low energy savings and they're very expensive items. So sometimes those will not pay for themselves with energy savings, but they can be incorporated in these projects as a cost avoidance type measure, where energy savings will still pay for a portion of them, but it might require some out-of-pocket costs. And that's something that we will identify during that audit process.
Any further questions? Need a motion to accept this resolution.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Luddington,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Brunner, Chittick,
Yes,
and Lorenzen.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Thank you.
As far as selecting the dates, how do you guys, do you wanna do that right now or follow up with Augie and?
We'll follow up with you.
Yeah,
As soon as
follow up with me.
Yeah, that'd be great. And yeah, and the only recommendation I had was just because the solar is a part of this, and the funding and the rebates that are part of the solar program are very sensitive as far as first come, first serve.
Okay.
So the further along in the process you are, the better chance you have of getting those funds.
Okay.
We have a couple months for that, but obviously we wanna try to stay ahead of it.
Okay, sure.
I'll be in touch.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Orr.
Next item, excuse me. Next item is resolution supporting the second amendment. Augie?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. As you recall, last month at our regular board meeting, citizen Tom Dagley asked if we would consider, we being county, passing a resolution acknowledging support for the Second Amendment. That was a two-page resolution which Effingham County had adopted. And so I basically sent that up to Mark for his review, and he's been tied up and he's been in and out of the office and whatnot. So in the meantime, I went ahead and put it on the agenda at the chairman's request. And I came up with, I went to the website where this was initiated from, this whole Second Amendment sanctuary county movement that's in the state. And they have, on their website, was a much simpler version, which is what I presented to you folks. And I got, late last night, early this morning, I saw where Mark sent an email, and which I provided to you gentlemen, and it was 2 pages of his concerns. And the miscommunication lies in, he was working off of the Effingham County resolution and not the Edgar County resolution. He obviously hasn't had a chance to look at that one yet. But the resolution that, the resolution you have, which is a simplified version of Effingham, makes no mention at all of sanctuary county, whereas the one in the Effingham does. Now, I'm going to stop there, and if there's any questions, feel free to ask me.
I don't think the state is saying banning you from having guns, and it says here the state legislature is infringing on our rights to have, possess, and use firearms. I don't think they're saying that, are they, in the state?
No, according to what I was able to find, they, basically, you know, when this started, there may have been lots of talk about what they were gonna do. Now it's fairly well cemented. I mean, it's sitting out on the governor's desk for his say. Basically, it was 72-hour waiting period for all firearms, no bump stocks, a red flag provision for mental health or use concerns for 6 months, confiscation of firearms. Those are the big ones, but none of it talks about
That's
taking
my-
away the ability to buy any legal firearm in Illinois. So that was one of my issues with that, is that 5th paragraph is kind of either hyperbolic or just totally inaccurate on this.
I agree.
So, and then as far as Mark's stuff, I agree to just strike out those 2 paragraphs, 4 and 5. All of his other concerns, I think, are still valid and worth our time. So if we wanted to pursue this, I'd like to get a little more refinement
I
on it.
think I kind of agree with Derek. There's nothing in front of the legislation at this moment that any resolution is going to change or even matter. I'd just as soon table it for a month and let Mark look at the new one before we make a decision.
Yeah, I just.
My opinion.
I don't think the legislature's saying banning you from having guns.
No, I don't think they are either.
That would be my, the rest of it looks fine, but it's just that one point.
And I'm a little, I mean, I'm ignorant of, you know, what actually, when we put a resolution forth, what are the legal hooks in that? How does that apply to us? And I guess I don't understand how all that works, what a resolution does as far as our obligations by some sort of letter from the County Board of Edgar if we wanted to pursue something, if there was an issue that we, as a group, took umbrage with, you know, so.
Just say we support the state, whatever they decide, to a certain point.
Well, like I said, we can discuss that and put something else forward, but I think as it exists right now, I don't feel comfortable, you know, trying to pass this. So I don't know, is that a table or is that something separate, since we're actually gonna look to refine?
I think we need to table it for the time being. We can have Mark look at it, and if we need to, have him come and if he still has concerns with this one. It sounds like he hasn't really reviewed this one like he did the other one. So let's
Yeah.
just table it and have him get back with us. And if we need to have him come at our next meeting to talk about it and have more discussion, then we can see what we want, how we want to proceed. Need a motion to table.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item is to reappoint R.G. Helsley, trustee for the North Fork Conservancy District, term expiring on 8/21 of '23. I'm not sure where the North Fork is, but he's in the Kansas area. Mr. Helsley lives there.
I'll move.
Second,
Second. Dan?
roll call, please.
Yes.
Ludington,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Chidick,
Yes.
and Lorenzen.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item is resolution reappointing Nicholas Barrett, trustee of the Metcalf Fire Protection District, term expiring first Monday in May of 2021.
So move.
Second,
So, Andy can have it.
roll call, please.
Ludington,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Chidick,
Yes.
and Lorenzen.
Yes.
Need a-
Nobody trusts RDJ signing music.
Resolution approving the oath and bond of Nick Barrett, trustee of the Metcalf Fire Protection District.
So moved.
Second, roll call.
Who was the second? I'm sorry.
There you go.
Ludington,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Chidick,
Yes.
Lorenzen.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Thank you. Next item is the department head reports. Aaron, do you have anything else to add?
Do not.
Okay.
Any questions for the highway department?
Did he say no?
To add, but
Oh.
keywords are add.
How's the Prairie's Edge project?
Prairie's Edge is going very well.
Holden.
Few utilities we're still trying to get dialed in, but the project looks like it's gonna go real well. I anticipate that they'll have it done by the end of the year, barring a long season of weather. We're pretty excited to have the project underway. We're very excited to have it underway. And I guess I will make a comment. We did get our response from DNR last evening regarding Staley. So there are some problems. There are some issues. They're recommending that we quickly get together with a host of agencies to try to rectify it, so.
I assume salamanders.
Yes, the Jefferson, I'll send you a nice picture. They sent us a GIS shape file that we have to overlay on the project limits and try to make concessions, and one of the questions they asked, or they encouraged, I guess it was at the local level, is that there be a conservation set aside as a remedial effort, so basically, I'm fairly confident that what happens a lot of times with the project, you just see it on paper, but if us local folks know that the new alignment goes right down where Interstar has a utility line, it's all cleared, and so again, I'm not saying anything, I would probably think the same thing in Springfield, looking at a picture on paper, that you take this winding road that goes down to a ford, and you make a straight shot out of it, it looks like you just roughshod cutting across the beautiful countryside there, and bats and salamanders be damned, but the truth of the matter is that area is basically clear cut, the new alignment, and my position is if these folks see this, or if we can communicate this effectively, I think that they would find that the new alignment has less environmental impact than trying to fix the old alignment, because the old alignment goes down into a cut, and it's got mature trees all around it.
Right.
So, I hate to speculate, I usually have a first gut instinct, but my gut on this is, he said it takes a minimum 6 to 12 months to get a conservation site secured, and I think we're gonna be pushing this one uphill. I've already reached out last evening to Lyle and Augustus and asked them if they would be willing to donate or participate in this conservation easement. It's a conservation easement, so basically whatever Jefferson salamander we displace, they do a set aside somewhere on that property for him to move his family to.
So have the lines of communication been strung back to DNR, are we asking for some sort of like boots on the ground type thing?
Yeah,
we can
they've got
actually show
a
'em, or we-
massive report, they've had boots on the ground and come back with a massive report, and they've turned over everything out there, and they can show you through GPS.
Sure, so but you were talking about the, you're looking at the overlay and saying, well, this is the better option, when in fact, if you're out there, you're saying that they've actually been out there and they've still come to the same conclusion?
Well, what they do, Derek, is they look at a pretty overly aggressive corridor. So if you say I've got a road between me and Derek, they'll come out and look at this whole room, is what happens, literally. And they kind of lose sight that the corridor's between me and Derek, and they'll find Jefferson salamanders all over the place in this area and say we have a problem. Did that answer your question? They didn't come out and say, we've looked just in this narrow passage where you're gonna put a roadway and have found no problems. They did not do that.
So there's no kind of common sense mitigation here, we have to go back to the drawing board, or we basically have to follow there's no getting around their,
The ball's in our court to push and to try to mitigate this finding. They have a finding,
right?
which is bad. Like the floodplain, it's not in the floodplain, we got past that one, but they have a finding. They have a endangered species finding.
Sure.
Which, if you want to look at it from a bureaucratic standpoint, set that one aside. That one's not going to fast through. That one's not coming right through. This one's going to have some mitigation issues addressed, and that goes from set-asides to, it gets really, really involved. And that's why I'm saying it's highly unlikely that I'm going to make a phone call to the director of the DNR and say, don't worry about it, it's fixed through there. That stuff doesn't work that way. And if you guys want me to, I can send you these reports. They're pretty significant. I don't,
Crush my inbox.
did I answer your question, or did I dance around it? All I'm saying is there is a.
I guess I'd like to know, so are you saying that we basically give up on this kind of quick turn to try to make something happen? Or
No, we haven't quit.
is there something, what is the best thing we can do to continue forward, to expedite
Engage,
timeline?
engage like we've done. I've already engaged Lyle and Augustus. I asked them last night via email. I haven't talked to them face to face because it was late when I got this. And I said, look, is there something you consider? And I haven't gotten a response yet. The District 5 office, the Paris office, which is the small person in the whole process here, basically the messenger, they're saying, hey, you might want to try to get with all these different agencies quickly if you're in a hurry.
Yeah.
If you're not, because our experience, which is what I'm telling you too, the local guy here and me, the small guys are saying, our experience tells us, uh-oh.
Yeah, right.
But I'm telling the board, and I will honor it, we will pursue direct communications. We will have a meeting and try to go through the motions. But generally speaking, I think you guys like to have a broad stroke opinion of what's going to happen there. And I think that you have a bridge that's probably been delayed.
So basically, you're saying you're working on it as fast as you can, but don't hold our breath because there's a lot of players involved.
There is, and most importantly, I'm learning this in life as well, I'm not in control.
Do you
I'm not in
do the
control.
salamanders or just bypass them?
No, he's less important than the salamanders. So,
One salamander or a colony?
You know, Dan, I don't know.
City of Jefferson salamanders and
What
white
type of
bays.
salamander is it? Is it?
It's the Jefferson.
Jefferson. George Jefferson.
Just move.
Look, and they're also, just so that
Oh, there's another show.
being completely upfront with you, they're saying this might go faster. This is the encouragement we're getting at the highway department from the district office. Remember, that's low level stuff. The district office and your highway department, they're saying, you know what, if you'd stick with that existing alignment, you might have a better shot at expediting this. Might is a key phrase. And what I'm saying is the existing alignment's grossly substandard.
Right, and
So not only is it
yeah,
I don't
grossly
think anybody
substandard-
wants to get some sort of half-cocked
You'd rather
plan
take
in
your
order
time
to
and do it
expedite
right.
this.
Exactly, that's what I say.
So out of curiosity, how much is this individual and that set aside a linchpin to moving forward with?
I think if
Is
you
there-
guys have contact with Lyle and Augustus, you ought to encourage them to participate. I think that's easy for a county board perspective, that you guys want economic development, you want public safety, and that you think that
Salamander safety also.
salamander safety as well.
I'll take them.
But that's not
Get
to
your cats
say,
down there, take care of it.
I guess they found these salamanders, I don't know if it's Brian Lau, Carl probably knows the players better, but one of them did a master's thesis,
Yeah, as Brian Lyles discovered the species.
discovered it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So when you look at the state of Illinois, it's just Clark and Edgar where our environmentalists think this endangered Jefferson lives, and they found him back in some hog pond.
I'll go out and check it out.
Okay. All right. Janet, do you have anything?
Search and sound.
Nothing quite as exciting as the poor salamanders. Giving a hard time. No, everything is going well at the health department. End of the state fiscal year was June 30th, so the old grants I'm finalizing, new grants I'm trying to get finished and submitted. I did want to mention that we do have, we have a car seat program, which, you know, it's on our information, that we free and reduce car seats, infant and toddler seats to residents of Edgar County. All they have to do is come to the health department. A phone call first always helps to make sure. We have certified car seat technicians at the department, and they educate the parents and grandparents on proper installation and care of the car seats. It's a great program. It is grant funded, and we really want to get those car seats out there. So wanted to mention that we actually have an annual car seat check event once a year. It's going to be on September 28th from 12 to 4. It's actually in our parking lot behind our building. We have a big tent set up, and it actually operates like a drive-through, where people don't even have to come inside. Paperwork and everything's taken care of out in the parking lot. So just want to mention that. That's about it.
Comment.
Yes.
She made me remember, this is the first time in, is it 4 years, that we had a budget on July 1st.
Mm. Yes.
So, yeah, that's a big deal. That was really nice to get to July 2nd and have a budget in place.
Monty?
Probation's moving right along, nothing new to report.
Okay. Eric?
We're getting ready to start enrollment for our 10th EMT class. And then we're gearing up for Fair Week. It's always a fun time at the fair. We'll be out there a lot.
Yeah.
What? Oh, yeah, we've already been contacted by the fair board. We need to, on what days and when and with, so it's gonna be a good time. Hopefully it's not real hot.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Angie?
I don't have anything today.
Okay. Tom?
All's good.
What, have you heard anything on the
They said
lawsuit?
that the Supreme Court should rule in October or November on Ameren's appeal. It'll be October or November before they rule, according to the lawyer we hired to argue the case. We are the last case they heard in the session, then they go on vacation for 3 months. They come back in September, and they said generally they won't rule on it for at least 2 months after they come back. It'll be over 5 years. And a little side note, that project was approved before they did any surveys or anything on salamanders or Indian burial ground or anything like that. So apparently Ameren has more pull than what the county does.
Well, Tom, if you want to move some Jefferson salamanders
We
out here,
have, we have them down there too, but nobody knows it, so.
Oh,
Get the word out.
yeah,
You know,
that's,
Sheriff?
I have nothing this time.
Okay. Tom, do you have anything?
Actually, I do.
Okay.
I wanted to let you know that I've made a FOIA request that is, depending on if you count the 4th of July as a day or not, about to become in non-compliance. I would like to get a little bit of information on budget and some other decisions that have been made by the Sheriff's Department. I made that request. They asked for an extension, and the last day, depending on how you interpret it, was either yesterday or today. So it would be good for the board to be aware that that is still forthcoming.
Where was the FOIA request made to?
It was made to
The Sheriff's Department?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
okay. All right. Dan?
I have none.
Andy?
Nothing today, I'm just kinda, I'd like to see where this energy audit things go before we proceed on other things. So, kinda waiting period right now.
Mhm. Are you on the insurance committee? I just briefly was talking to Kirk Good the other day,
Okay.
and he asked me a question about insurance, and I said, I really don't know a whole lot about it, but I think isn't it October 1st?
That's our new year.
New
Yes.
year for that, and, you know, I think last year we just renewed it. We didn't take it out for bids.
So last year, yeah, we did. Okay.
So you might talk to Bushu and him, because, you know, if it's October 1st, you know, that's just a little over 2 months.
Well,
And
health
for-
insurance, we just renewed the property,
Seems like it.
yeah, the property we did go out to bid, so,
Yeah.
but Kirk's with the health, so.
Well, you know, talk with both of them and see what we need to do and how things are looking, and, because if we're gonna have to do something, especially if it's gonna go out for bids, we're gonna have to be getting started on that.
Okay.
Because we always run into a rush thing at the end if we wait till the last minute. So you might contact him and we talk to Bushu. Phil,
Nothing.
John,
Not a thing.
Derek?
Airport's busy with crop dusters, so say I had 3 running on Sunday that I saw, so we will definitely appreciate when we get our expansion in place. That seems to be on pace. I expect to have a meeting out at the airport with a few of those individuals sometime next week. So.
Is the helicopter that's been spraying in this area working out of the airport, or is he coming from someplace else?
I don't know, I'd have to ask Tom on that. I didn't see him out there, it was too.
I just didn't know if we had the facilities for him, but I've just seen one in the neighborhood.
That's the beauty of a helicopter, everybody's got a facility for them, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know out in our area, a big farmer out there uses a helicopter and they stage out there, out east of Paris. They don't come out of the airport. They just, sometimes they're in the park in Vermillion or their big lot.
I was just curious, I see them flying over my house and, you know, up to the airport, it's a pretty common flight path
Well,
with
that
sprayers, and I just.
same
didn't know.
guy has
Yeah.
farm ground out there, so it's probably the same guy.
Okay,
But
just.
I've seen at least 3 or 4 different colored airplanes out in our area.
Yeah.
So I know there's several of them. I mean, obviously Mary Lou would know more about it, you know, how many have you seen out there at one time?
7.
7 of them? I imagine it's pretty hectic out there with 7 of them, crowded,
Disruptive golf game.
yeah.
I'm glad we have the beacon light back up and running for them.
They don't do much night spraying, but yeah, in case they do.
Anything from anybody else? Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay.
Or on
We're adjourned, thank you.
Call them and find out where we are. It seems like it was, I was here.
Well, so we had to revisit